Listen to me, baby. You just can't win. Places you trying to go, I've already been.
La 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 la.
Inner Wealth Podcast.
La 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 la.
Inner Wealth Podcast.
La 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 la.
Inner Wealth Podcast. You know what day it is. Inner Wealth Podcast with David Liz. So manifest the greater this. And things all good cause I say it is. Invest in your inner wealth. Real generational wealth is mental health. It's an inside game, no toxicity. Let's talk and more listening. Ladies and gentlemen, and now introducing David McCullough, Elisabeth Holtzler, host of the Inner Wealth Podcast. Inner Wealth Podcast.
La 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 la.
Inner Wealth Podcast.
La 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 la.
Inner Wealth Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Inner Wealth Podcast. So last year around May 14th, I was featured on the Earn Your Leisure podcast. And fast forward a year today, we are here with the Earn Your Leisure podcast.
Fitting, very fitting.
Yes.
What up, though, guys?
What up, though?
What up, though?
What up, though?
So, man, I'm grateful to have you guys here with us, and just want to have a conversation about mental health, emotional health, financial health, because they're really
Coincide.
all interconnected, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
a fact.
Mm.
You can't have one without the other.
So tell us about a little bit about your journey, how you guys got to where you are with the podcast and everything.
Yeah, so the podcast kind of came as a byproduct of, financial literacy is really our life story. Me having a background in finance and Troy having a background in education, I was a financial advisor. I still am a financial advisor. And at the time when we really started this journey of financial literacy, he was a teacher. So he brought me in the classroom to teach financial literacy to his students. And that kind of morphed into a summer program where we did financial literacy for 6 weeks, a different topic every single week, from credit to stocks to, pretty much everything that you need to know, how to buy real estate, all that stuff.
Taxes.
Taxes.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the birth of us working together on the financial literacy side. And, him just becoming better and better in education, me becoming better and better in finance. And, social media was something that I really gravitated towards. I knew I wanted to be a social media, expert on finance, whatever. I didn't know exactly how I wanted to package it, but I felt like I had something to offer to the world, and I wanted to, I knew that social media was the best way to really kind of get that message out there. So
Right.
I was building my own social media brand for finance for about 2 years before we started Earn Your Leisure, and that built up a lot of momentum. And then from there, a lot of people, was asking if I had a podcast, because I would go on other people's shows and, film myself and take clips of that and put those clips on Instagram.
Right.
So a lot of people thought that those clips was from my actual podcast. So
Okay.
they kept asking, like, where can I watch this full
Yeah.
thing? And, like, what's the name of your podcast? So it got to a point where it just made sense to, like, start something that wasn't mine.
Yeah.
So as opposed to just doing the show by myself, Troy, like I said, we already had that chemistry as far as working together. And, I speak to him every single day pretty much for the last 20 years. So
So y'all grew up together then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, from the same neighborhood.
yeah.
So basically everything you knew, you
You knew
knew.
too.
Yeah.
Right.
I tell people that all the time. Like, I come from a background of education, everything in business I had to learn. And that comes a lot from being around him and our other friends too. You never want to be the person in the conversation who doesn't know what you're talking
Doesn't
about.
know anything, right?
Yeah. So if you want to be part of the conversation, you got to know. And so
Right.
every time they would talk about something I didn't know, I go research and I come back with some information, and it just grew from there.
So that's interesting. You guys say that because you're talking about 2 years that you just spent building up your platform, and then you're talking about a 20-year relationship with you guys. Like, how long were you a financial advisor for? Or you still are?
I
When did
still
you
am.
start?
So I'm like 13 years in with the finance. So I was probably like 10 years at the time we started Earn Your Leisure, 10 years of being a financial advisor.
So that's the misconception. Like, oh, it only took y'all 2 years
Right.
Nah.
That's what
to get here.
Now 10 years. So that program we did that for 10 years in the summer. So while everybody was on vacation.
Oh, so you did the
Wow.
financial literacy program
Yeah,
for 10
years
years?
in the summer. Yeah, and then I remember when we started, I was like, I need you to come, man. And he was like, I'm not going back to school, man. I want to do that. But as he saw like how receptive the kids were and the fact that they were gravitating toward information that they know. And that's the key thing in education. Like when something's relatable,
Yeah.
kids will enjoy it.
And important. They
It's-
don't teach you that in
Nah,
school,
and
so
that-
it's so
and
important.
I knew that right away.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm in the school, so I
Yeah.
know what's being taught and I know what's not
Mhm.
being taught. And I
Exactly.
know what's going to be vitally important. And so when we were doing the program, like we have to implement financial literacy because
Right.
at the end of the program, the kids are going to get paid $500.
Mm.
So it's going to be their first time coming in contact with that type of money. I wanted them to understand the value of it, how to treat it, how to
Right.
use it, how to share it, how to spend it.
So important.
And so we were doing that for 10 years. Nobody thought of anything of it. They just see what happens with Earn Your Leisure. But yeah, we were grinding in the summers, no air conditioning,
Mm.
in a
Yeah.
band room.
Oh man.
In a
And
band
I
room.
think that's important for people to understand too. Is like the journey, even without even planning it. Like you always say, okay, like it takes a certain amount of years to become an overnight success, but your whole life prepares you for everything that you're
Right.
at.
Right.
So it's
Right.
like
Everything.
yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. So we didn't know that those things that we were going through
Mhm.
in life would prepare us for this. But so yeah, we only had Earn Your Leisure for 2.5 years, but me being a financial advisor for 10 years, him being a teacher for 12 years, us doing all of that stuff was really the resume to get us to
Right.
this point now.
Yeah, it's not a far deviation, right? If people look at it like financial literacy, the teaching of finance. I'm a
Right.
teacher, he's in finance.
Right.
It makes
Right.
perfect sense. We've been
Yeah.
prepared for this our whole life.
I mean, that's kind of your story, David, because people don't see, how long you've been in this industry grinding, like the hard days. They only
Yeah.
see
They
the,
only
the
see
pretty stuff.
right.
You know.
But you know what? That's the same thing. We over the pandemic, we got into IML,
Mhm.
and we
Mhm.
started trading. And
Yep.
you know what we saw with
Yeah.
people? People always only showed their wins.
Mhm.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And
You
I was
never show
like,
your
why
loss.
is everybody winning but us?
Like, man, I'm over here getting my ass kicked. Shit.
Well, we taking these losses, and then we would every time somebody would win something, they would call us. But then when they would lose,
They go dark.
we don't even know. They would just go dark. They go
Go dark.
silent. We were like, man, you blew your account, didn't you? Like, yeah, because you ain't hear from them for some days. Like,
Right.
we knew you blew your account. So
Yeah.
it's like that thing like that. We want to show people all the good stuff,
Mhm.
but I think that does a great disservice because
Right.
it's the
The grind.
it's the hard stuff, man,
Yeah.
that really builds you. So what's
Exactly.
some of the hard things you went through financially that maybe even took a toll on you mentally, emotionally, if you can share anything?
Whew. Financially, I'll never forget, and he was there to attest to it. I remember I had just got a job in education, and the first thing I wanted to do was get a brand new car. And I never forget, I got this BMW. I think it was 2005, 525.
Mm.
And I was looking at the payment, and they were like $565 a month. And I was making like $1,200 a month.
Oh man.
And I was like,
Man.
I'll take it.
Oh.
Yeah, so 5 years later, I'm finally trying to pay this thing off. The parts for the car were ridiculous. It was probably one of the worst financial decisions I ever made. I brought my financial advisor with me at the time. Now I'm joking. But not, it was those things I wanted to show like people that I had done something.
Yeah.
And my way of showing it was like, I'm gonna get this brand new car, not knowing that financially was a terrible decision, but I had to go through that. And so I always tell kids like, look, start off with the hoopty. Start off with the hoopty.
But you know what? That's the problem with our self-esteem is attached
Yeah.
to what we purchase.
Right.
It felt great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It
I
felt
remember
great,
growing
right.
up, my mom just kept programming into my head like, you're not gonna be living at home driving a $60,000 car. Like, how much is that you've seen in a culture where it's a Range Rover parked on the front lawn, but
In
the
mom's
range
house.
costs more
Yeah.
than a house?
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
Like, we saw a lot of that growing
Yeah.
up, and that became the thing where we want to, like Chris Rock is talking about, they spinning, talking about the spinners,
Yeah,
the
the spree
trail
wells.
spree
Yeah,
wheels
the
back
spree
in the
wells.
day. It's
Right.
like, or even the Dave Chappelle, I'm rich, bitch, pull up with the truck after they won the lottery. Like, those are all mental health issues,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
we only think about it from the standpoint of you went to a doctor and you got diagnosed with something, but our decision making is all based on mental health every day. Well, everything you purchase is based upon that. So,
Exactly.
I definitely understand that. Like having a high car note, like I knew guys they was getting, Escalades, and I'm like, dude, you still living at the crib, bro? Like you get an Escalade, that thing 600 plus the insurance,
Yeah,
you almost at $1,000,
fact.
and you ain't even got a crib. You ain't got a
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. Mental
But
health
but
issues.
I think it's important to have these conversations because what y'all talking about, just even when I talked about the Rolex y'all had on, like the Rollies, and you
Right.
like, yo, but
Rolex.
that's an asset though.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And all of a sudden that changes how we look at things. Like, oh,
Mhm.
I need to go and actually, spend money more wisely where I'm still holding on
Investing.
to it, but
Yeah.
at the
Mhm.
same time, I
Investing.
can still kind of have some fun with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's interesting for Black people. I thought it was just us that had these issues until I did a Dave Ramsey's course like 10 years ago, right?
Mhm.
And you would do it at these churches. So we went to this church, and I'm the only Black person in this room, and I'm like 30 years old or something like that. And what Dave Ramsey was teaching was very basic. I thought I was about to come learn some Market Monday stuff. Like, nah, he's like, yeah, act your wage. Don't spend more than you earn. Like, that's pretty much the whole thing. And I was like,
That's kind of what they teach you
whoa.
in school, just regular school. Like they don't teach you nothing about how to spend your money wisely or anything. Anything. So when I got out of high school, man, I jacked myself up with credit
Oh, I
because I
Yeah.
jacked
didn't
myself up
understand
with
it.
credit too.
That's what came next. After you're trying to make the payments on the car, all your money's going to there, and then you have your regular life, and so now credit cards come involved
Yeah.
into the equation, and it's like, oh man, I'll take that 13% for the first 6 months, and then that 29% kicks in after that, and it's like,
Mhm.
whoa,
Right.
this is different. But
Right.
nobody's telling you that, right? Like
Exactly.
nobody was saying, hey, don't do that. Like your friends are
Exactly.
applauding you because you got that car's fire.
Yeah.
And now you're living off your credit
Right.
card, so it
Right.
looks like you're doing okay. But
Mhm.
again, like you said, it goes back to nobody teaching us, nobody giving us the education.
Right.
Like my parents didn't know that. They didn't really understand interest rates and things like that. Like they
Mhm.
don't come from this country, so
Where they from?
Right.
they're from Jamaica.
Oh man,
Okay, I didn't know
I didn't know
that.
you.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
know
yeah,
you was
yeah,
from the
Jamaican?
yard, man.
Yeah.
Wagwan.
Big things
what's
up,
up? Okay.
Big things up, God.
Okay.
Yeah. So these things again. That's the power of being around people like I said, like my best friend Rashad. Listen, I'm not sure if that's the best idea. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like I'm learning
Oh,
from
he
him.
told you that.
He's told me that a bunch of times, and I've taken his advice a lot of the times because again, he's a trained professional. Like
Mhm.
I'm not gonna go to somebody else to take their advice. I know he has my best interest, right?
Mhm.
If I don't succeed, I'm knocking on his door like I need some help.
Mhm.
I haven't knocked on your door yet, right?
No.
Yeah. See, I've been listening to him.
So where'd you pick up that idea of money management? Was it that you went to school? Is it something in your childhood that helped you just to kind of think of money differently?
Yeah, I mean, I always was interested in investment and business my whole entire life. But my dad's an entrepreneur,
Okay.
and that's
Mm.
something that just I guess growing up, he really always was just preaching that, like, where not really so much of like investing so much, but just the basic principles of like, do for self and have your
Mm.
own business and not have to rely on anybody. That was something that
Mhm.
was like real big for him. So, that definitely was an influence on me because, seeing or just being around that and seeing him, always have his own business and do different
Mhm.
things, really it kind of inspired me and definitely led me like to not want to have like a regular job.
Yeah.
Right.
And then like I said, I just always was interested in business and investing my whole entire life. I'm not really sure, why, but it just fascinated me like Wall Street and just
Mhm.
investing and just things like that just was just
It wasn't this traditional business though, because you Wall Street, that's a whole
yeah,
different
No.
animal. You like
yeah,
No.
you want to go to Wall Street.
yeah.
What type of business did your dad have?
Well, he does similar to what I do as far as like he does like life insurance
Okay.
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So yeah, but like growing up, like yeah, that was just weird because I always wanted to play basketball and I always wanted to be on Wall Street. And I used to
Mm.
watch those movies, like even when I was like 12, like movies like
Wow.
Wall Street, Barbarians at the Gate.
When you were 12.
Yeah, yeah,
Dang.
yeah, yeah, for sure. It was just fascinating to me because I understood like how much money they was making. I remember I took a trip to the World Trade Center. I took a trip to Wall Street when I was a little kid, and it was just mind-boggling even back then because I understood how much money that they was actually making, and that was like 20, 30 years ago, and it was just like amazing to me that people can make that much money, and wear suits, and that was just it was just so dope to me. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that was something that I always wanted to be. I didn't know exactly where I wanted to actually fit in at, But the idea of just being a stockbroker and working on Wall Street was something that was like my first thing that I really wanted to do. Like, all right, this is something that's cool.
So you really didn't have the matrix programming that most of us had then, because you was already outside
Seeing your
that matrix
dad.
and seeing,
Yeah.
because even in my growth to today, it's like you have to go see certain things to be able to believe the possibilities.
Absolutely.
You know, seeing people making $20,000-$30,000 a month. I remember my early 20s when I started seeing that. I'm like, what? You know, because I come from just a corporate job, and you making your paycheck, and you seeing guys making 20 grand. You're like, what they doing?
Yeah.
Like, how you doing that?
Yeah, and it's like even things like entertainment can be a outlet because I didn't know any millionaires, but watching movies like I said, Barbarians at the Gate, watching movies like Wall Street, different things like that really it opened my mind, and I was so close. Like coming from New York, you're so close to it.
Right.
So it's like, and they like making $1 million a day. And I remember, I never forget, I think in Wall Street, he was like, I never forget when I made my first million. Now I make $1 million a day. And that was like 30 years ago. And I'm like, they making $1 million a day. Like, that's crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I guess I always just had a open mind to like, there's always something bigger than the
Yeah.
reality of what, just in our environment, because there's people out here that's actually doing it. So I look at it like, if they can do it, I can do it.
Right.
Right.
That's why I don't think that for the black people, our issues aren't financial. Our issues are mental, emotional, because that's the leading force. You had to have a programmed mind and understanding and belief about how money worked before getting the money. People want to do the opposite.
Right.
They want to get the money with the same programming that they have, and it's like, no, that's why people, when they win a lottery, they typically go broke.
Lose it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you weren't, your nervous system was conditioned, to go after money. That's why I asked you about your losses too, because your losses condition your nervous system,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
To be
yeah.
able to take a loss and be like, all right, well, whatever.
Experience. Yeah.
Like, because when we were trading, our nervous system was
up,
getting
down, up, down.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
But
rough.
even that, because it's like, I come from both sides of it, because my mom is in education. She's a teacher.
Mm,
So she never understood entrepreneur. And like, even, being an entrepreneur, there's ups and downs. Like, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So that causes a lot of strains on even relationships. So just seeing my parents, like, you kind of know, like, you get the gist of things when you're a child, like what's going on. And you can tell like it might be some financial issues, and
yeah.
you see you hear arguments, like, you know what I'm saying? It kind of, you don't have to actually know what's going on to kind of pick up on things. So it's like, yeah, if you in business and you might not get paid for 2 months, but
Right.
your wife doesn't want to hear that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
How about 4 years?
yeah,
I ain't got paid for 4 years.
yeah, no, it's real
Like,
talk.
and people didn't understand that. People just see what we
They see
doing.
the
I'm like,
sparkly
dude, I
stuff.
haven't taken a paycheck.
No, that's real talk.
Like, I put that money right back into it, you know,
Yeah,
and still doing that.
yeah,
Yeah.
for
Because
sure.
I see, so when the payoff come,
Yeah,
Much
Nope.
grander. Yeah.
I know what I invested into
Yeah.
it, and I know that, this wasn't easy.
Yeah.
And that's the long game. I know Grant Cardone, like, he's about to play in the I need money today. I'm like, this a long game for me.
Yeah. Nah, that's real talk. And it's like for me, seeing like my mom being really conservative and my dad being on the other end of the spectrum, I leaned towards my dad. Like, I didn't want to go towards the ultra conservative route, because I'm like, all right, I know where that's gonna go. Like, that's just like a regular, 9 to 5, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let's take a chance. Like, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Let's see what
Entrepreneur
we can get.
spirit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So I said to say, like, coming out of college, I just started as a financial advisor, and that's a commission-based job. And, it's pretty much like you on your own. So I never really had a regular job my whole entire life, other than like being like in camp counselor, stuff like that. So my anxiety levels is a little different, because like most people, it makes them extremely anxious and they have anxiety when they have to be an entrepreneur, because you don't know when you're going to get paid. It's very stressful. But that's all I really know.
Right.
So I never really looked at it like, I'm just like, all right, we just got to figure it out. We got to do what we got to do. But if I had a
Right.
regular job, then that would give me a high level of anxiety, because now
Your
I'm
body's
already
conditioned.
programmed to be an entrepreneur. So
Yeah.
now if I had to actually punch a clock, be here at a certain time, ask for a vacation, my anxiety levels would be through the roof.
Well,
So
that was me.
Yeah.
I was working at Kaplan University down in Fort Lauderdale. I mean, I had anxiety, but it got worse because I'm working for people, that got these goals. You got to meet these goals, and if you don't meet these goals, you're gonna get fired. I saw people have heart attacks on the floor.
Mm.
And for me, I used to tell people like, I'm just here for a moment.
That's
know?
it. Yeah, that's it right there.
I was like, I'm just here for a moment.
That's-
I was hustling too. I was doing little hustles. I was on Alibaba, EC Plaza up around 2003, 4. I found a Jordan manufacturer. I started
remember
buying
that.
Jordans.
Yeah.
Yo, I
Remember
put together a Word document, sent it around the office. I remember my director came to me like, "You got 20?" I pulled like $2,000 out of my pocket. Like, he was like, "Dude, what you doing?" It's like, bro, I'm just in here for a moment, man. I'm just doing what I need to do. But I was more anxious because I felt like this ain't it, man.
That's it.
Like I felt like I'm in a cage. You telling me
Mhm.
what time I can go
Right. Punching
to
clocks.
to eat? You telling me when I can take vacation? Like I didn't like that.
I
You
had
know?
that conversation, like maybe 3 years ago while we were doing, like we had just started Earning Leisure, maybe 2.5 years ago, and the administration at the school was like, I think you should be the principal. I think you should be an assistant principal. And I looked them dead in the face and I said, this isn't it. I'm like,
Mm.
what? I'm like, yeah, this isn't it. Like, I'm
So
like,
you
"Dude."
always knew. Did
Yeah,
you
I'm like,
always
this
know?
isn't
Yeah.
this isn't where I'm not supposed to finish my life here.
Right.
The journey of the 25-year teacher who retires on a pension, that's
No.
not for me.
Mhm.
And what I was doing had become so redundant. I knew it couldn't be it at all.
Right.
Mhm.
And that's interesting that he said his parents, that balance. Like I remember my dad making more of the money, but my mom controlling the money because my dad was a
Mm.
gambler,
Mm.
Oh wow.
right?
Mm.
And so he didn't have the greatest financial repertoire, right? So I watched that and I looked at it and I said, that can't be me, right? I took that from them. They taught us hard work, right? Like so, I could tell you, I couldn't tell you what my dad did. I just know he worked hard,
Mm.
right? Like he worked for 42 years. He worked
Mm.
in the city. I used to drop him at the train and pick him up when I was a teenager in college. But I don't know what he did.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I have no
my
clue.
dad my dad is the same way. He worked for Jim for 30 years. I still don't know what
I
he
don't
did
know.
there.
I have no clue. 42 years he retired, and I'm like, wow, that's hard work. I'm like, nah, I got to work smart.
Yeah.
I got to work
Mm.
smart. So even when I was pursuing my career in teaching, I'm like, all right, well, there's gonna be something. So we've tried a couple of businesses that didn't work.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'm gonna keep trying.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
gonna
let's
keep trying.
let's talk about that. 'Cause
Yeah,
I've
Right.
done quite a few businesses.
yeah.
You've done some
Yeah, I've
businesses.
done a lot of
What's some stuff
businesses
you
too.
done?
Oh man, I was a real estate agent. I had about 30 agents at one time that I was managing. That was
okay.
rough. I mean, chef. I was chefing for a while. I would do like little stuff on the side too, like cakes and stuff. I mean, I was always hustling though. I've been hustling since I was really young because I was just money hungry always. But I watched my parents. They went to work every day. You
Mhm.
know, they went to work. They punched clocks. So that's all I knew. But I knew I didn't want to do that. Like I didn't want to be controlled by a time clock or anything like that. So I was always trying to, side hustle somehow, some way.
Yeah, we're
So
gonna keep trying until we make it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah. We started. Our first thing we did was a real estate company. I think you came up with the name. It was MTI. Remember that? Money Through Investing.
Mm.
And we had gotten one property, and it was a horror story. It was a horror
real
story.
estate is hard, man.
Yeah, real estate is tough.
It's hard.
And then we tried Jock Drive. Jock Drive was
What's that?
it was an app for DJs.
Okay.
And so you know how DJs would come with crates to do a show.
Got you.
We were creating a cloud space where they can actually create their sets, put it in the cloud, and just show up with their laptop and be ready to perform. And we we outsourced it and learned a valuable lesson in outsourcing.
Yeah.
A lot of money was lost outsourcing, but we needed those failures
Yeah.
because we worked together, and our partners. Shout out to our brother Mike. That was his idea. We believed in it. It didn't work. Shotty came and he said, "Let's start a podcast." All right, whatever. And that's one thing that I need people to really understand is like, really support your brothers. Like, really support them. Like when he was grinding and staying up at night, how can we help? All right, I'll send you an article. All right, let's proofread what you're doing. You want to start a podcast? All right, bet. I'll do it. Let's do it because
Right.
I believed in him,
Right.
and so like that belief system is what you see, and the people that are around us have been with us because they believe in what we're doing too.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, yeah. So, what do you think in terms of social media and how it's changing that narrative and making people think that it's just like we just gonna get in this and we about to just make all this money?
Right, get rich.
Like
immediately.
with the people that you've been place to place, have you been seeing that mindset, like people thinking like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always been a perception that, success is easy.
Mhm.
Even before social media, people, that's what really separates the great ones from everybody else is that they have the the ability to work harder than other people.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's like no matter what, it's just human nature to just try to take shortcuts.
Right.
And most people don't want to put in that level of commitment. And I think that even you can give somebody all of the tools, but the work ethic is something that you can't give them.
Exactly. Oh,
And
we've seen that a lot.
and
A
yeah,
lot.
so I mean, social media probably just amplified that even more because you're just seeing a lot of the final products.
Right.
You're not actually seeing the work that goes into it. So it's playing on people's emotions and it's making them feel like they're not where they need to be or
Mhm.
they need to, show success even if they're not successful to kind of match up, keep up with the Joneses,
Yeah.
Mm.
things of that nature. But yeah, I mean, for me, and that's really the thing. Like, I really enjoy the process. Like, you got to really love the process
Mm-hmm.
more than anything, is because it's like if you don't love the work, if you're not passionate about doing it every single day consistently, then no matter what you do, you're not going to be successful at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's really
Yeah.
how I look at
I
it.
think it's dope. Like when people come up to us and they ask us, "How are you doing all this?" Like
Yeah.
when that question gets asked, it makes us remind ourselves, like, "Wait, we are doing all this? All right, on
Yeah.
to the next thing, right? We do
Right.
four podcasts in a day, do a
Mm.
networking event, get on a plane, fly, you know what I mean? Fly to Detroit,
Mhm.
Right.
fly to LA,
Right.
and still be able to pick up your kids off the bus.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like, yeah, we are doing those things because we love it.
Right.
It's not
Right.
a
It's a
job to us.
lifestyle. It's a
Yeah.
lifestyle,
This
really.
isn't a job to us. This is
Yeah.
what we were supposed to do. Like I said, we've been preparing our whole lives to be in this moment. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't we love it?
And that's the
Oh,
part of the
exactly.
journey that most people don't really see. You can't see that. Like you couldn't see that 10 years ago you'd be here. I can't see I would be here 10 years ago.
Right.
And again, I've done a lot of different things, but everything that I've done, I'm like, wow, that made sense. I was acting in my 20s, down in South Florida. And then, now to get on the stage or be in front of a microphone, it's like, okay, it's no big deal for me because I've been doing that, you
Hmm.
know. And then with businesses and failing businesses, I've been doing that too. We built the app too. We learned.
You outsourced?
Yeah. I mean, the app came out, but we still haven't even released it. We
Okay.
haven't released the app, but it's like things have to go on the back burner because it's like things take precedent. And I'm an idea guy. I'm a visionary. And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes
Yes,
I
you
have to tell
are.
her, I'll sit there, be speaking vision with her, and she'd
Oh
be like,
my
okay, let's
God.
go do this. I'm
Oh,
like, what?
I'm
Wait,
detail
wait.
oriented. I can't. I'm
Wait,
off and
put that.
running.
I need you to put that in order. Like, I'm not telling you to go and make it happen like right now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's more pressing things, but that's it, man. It's like a puzzle,
Yeah.
and sometimes you pick up the wrong pieces, and sometimes you think you got the right piece and you put it in and it looked like it fit until you keep
Mhm.
going and you're like, that ain't the right piece, man. And you got to change, you got to adapt, and you got to maneuver. Like, you guys coming here this weekend, we had to adapt because a piece fell out.
Mhm.
Hmm.
But we was like,
Cool.
cool.
Let's roll with the
That's the
flow.
one thing that I've learned in business that makes this process a lot easier for me. And it really is a spiritual truth. It's like the law of least resistance.
Right. Let it
Mm.
go.
It's
Let it
like
go.
if
Let
it
it
ain't
be what it
working, man,
is.
just let it go. I promise you something's gonna open up and it's gonna be a lot better,
Right.
But
Right.
we get stuck on like we gotta have it the way that we see it. And
Exactly.
it's like it don't always happen that way,
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I don't think, like you said, when people ask me, could you have dreamed of this? And I'm like, no, this was never in a dream of mine.
Mm.
Right. This is kind of like purposely, like these footsteps have been laid for us.
Right.
I mean, we just walking in them now. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And I like, that's a great analogy, the puzzle piece. We have this thing where we never take anything personal. So like
Mm.
if we reach out to somebody and it doesn't happen, it's like, all right, well, it's not
Right.
supposed to
Not
happen at this
supposed to
moment.
happen. Right.
We
Right.
still put you on the list though.
It's like Billy
Yeah, we got a little
Madison.
list. Hold on.
I'm
No
like Michael
problem.
Jordan with that, bro.
No,
Like I got a
no, we
list
got a
for
little
you. Like
list.
I'm gonna be a little petty, but
Yeah. That's Aquarius, though. That's
yeah,
an
that is.
Aquarius thing.
Yeah, it's like yo, we cool.
Yeah.
But write
But
that down, Liz.
oh, I got it. I got it. I got a
Take
whole
note
list in my
of
head.
that.
You got your
Got
Billy
it.
Madison list. Oh, no problem. Shit.
Yeah, man. So it's like, so what's next for you guys? What you got? What else you got going on?
Man, just keep scaling. Obviously, welcome to EYL Network.
Yeah. Let's take a
Yeah.
moment. Let's take a
Yeah,
moment.
yeah,
I know.
The,
For
the,
sure.
the Inner Wealth podcast is on
Yeah,
EYL
for
Network, so
sure.
shout out
So
to
this
y'all.
this is something that we're really proud of because it's not usual as far as our content is concerned. It's more business and investing, but
Yeah.
the mental health side is extremely important, and it all ties in So yeah, we looking to keep partnering and keep working with great people like yourselves to keep building that out. EYL University, that's the educational component. We looking to keep growing that, and really just actually taking advantage of all the information that we have received from our journey and actually implementing it. So like opening Airbnbs, we got our first
Nice.
truck on the road, getting vending machines. So really just kind of
Nice.
like actually doing all of these different businesses that we actually have already, spoken about,
Right.
and then documenting the process and kind of making more content out of that.
Mhm.
So it's a lot that's on our plate for 2021, but the most important thing is just to keep providing information and keep helping people. And I feel like as long as we do that, everything else will just take care of itself.
Yeah, people ask us what's next all the time. I tell them everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's
Yeah.
next.
Right.
What
Yeah.
can't we do? We can do it
Right.
all.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
But that's the thing. It's like that belief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That thought process.
That belief
That's
is
why you guys
high,
will. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's about like why wait for somebody else to go create something for
For
us,
you,
and that's
right.
something that I
Mm.
felt like that we've been doing for a long time. Is that we complain, but we can go create.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I don't want to complain. That's how I was with my own mental health. I was just like, I'm gonna go and fix it.
Mhm.
I don't care if the system is telling me this is what it is.
Right.
In my mind, that ain't what it is.
Right. Right.
And that's why we're here, because I went down that rabbit hole of saying, how do I take care of myself? And that's the thing, self-sufficiency. But we need the information to raise our level of consciousness to know that it's something better, and I think that's why it's important why we're connected, because that's all we're doing for people.
Raising
Mhm.
consciousness.
Is raising
Yeah.
people's levels of awareness
Yep.
of what's possible.
Right. For
People
themselves.
people come into Inception and they're like blown away, and I'm like, dude, you ain't seen nothing.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
That's a 4-year-old version.
Right. You
Yeah.
saw the vision in your head, though.
If
I mean,
you saw that, then you really be like, whoa,
Right.
like it's more to come. It's like you said, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So man, I appreciate that we even on the podcast with you guys.
I
And like
know.
last year, I didn't think that we would be here. And like I said,
Man.
we created the name Inner Wealth before we even
dope.
decide we're gonna do a podcast.
Yeah.
Liz didn't even want to be on to do a podcast.
What?
Listen, when I jumped on board, it was like all these panels and stuff. I'm like, listen, I'm background. I do not want to be shot by no cameras, nothing, no pictures. I got everything on the background because I was a model and actress for a while. So I was in front of the screens for a long time. And it's like, I was tired of it. And I'm like, listen, all you, go ahead. Don't have me talk nothing. Don't have me
That's
say
why
nothing.
people be like, why she don't talk much? I'm
Oh,
like, cause
man.
Liz like,
Yeah,
I'm
she doing
chill.
what
You
she-
know what I'm
she's
saying?
doing what she wants.
Yeah.
She's like, I
Yeah.
just want to chill, and I was like, but her story is so powerful. Like, for us to do what we're doing, that's a 14-year relationship.
Right, right.
You
And the
know?
podcast, really, I mean, that's just our conversation daily. This is what we talk about all day, every
Powerful.
day.
It's powerful.
It's just our
Same way
normal.
probably with y'all
I
on the phone,
know.
right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
powerful.
We be on the phone, I be like, damn,
I know.
this was
me
a
too.
podcast. We
Like,
should have
damn it.
recorded this,
I
man.
know.
Like, damn, there's some gems
I
up
know.
in here.
Yeah,
I know.
it's crazy. Before we record now, we barely talk because we're gonna save it. Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
people like they watch the process. And they're like, some people will come in and see, like, I want to see how you guys record, and they'll sit there and they're like,
That's
I'm like, it's all right. Like, this is 25 years. I
Yeah,
know what's
exactly.
gonna happen
right.
in the next 2 minutes.
Oh, we
That-
wing
that-
it. That's what we do.
see?
Like, hey,
Yeah.
should we write anything down or bullet point? Nah. We
We're
just
gonna be
don't-
okay.
Yeah, we
The,
got
the
it.
organic is just
It's better.
is real when it
It
comes out
flows.
like that,
Yeah,
man.
I
Mhm.
want to tell people really quickly the level of patience. Like, we wanted to have Inception on the podcast 6 months before we even made it happen.
Oh,
Mm.
wow.
So people don't even know that story. Like,
I didn't even know that.
Really?
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
what?
we had heard the story. Shout out to Jamal. He had told us the story, and we were like, we got to get them on. It's an amazing story. And when we initially reached out, I think we spoke to your mom.
Really?
Yeah, we spoke to
Really?
your mom, and I think the team was coming to New York, and we were like, all right, when we get to New York, we'll get this thing done. And I'm like, all right, cool. 4 months later, we still didn't get it done. I called my man Ken, who's here right now. He's from Detroit. I'm like, look, I need you to go to Inception, man. I want to get them on.
Wow.
And he
Mm.
pulled up before you guys even opened. He's like, Troy, I'm outside. I think this is the place. And you spoke to her mom, his mom?
Yeah,
He
yeah.
spoke
He
to you?
spoke to my mom. Yeah.
And then finally we got, sometimes in life, like I said, we never take it personal. Nothing happens before it's happened. But
Right.
So
When
thanks for not putting this on your list, because I mean, we
Dang, I
didn't even
know,
know
right?
what was going on.
yeah.
Yeah.
When all else fails, call their mom.
And then COVID happened.
And
Oh,
COVID happened.
yeah.
Exactly.
And then
Yeah.
that's but we still did a Zoom, so
A
that
Zoom
was
call,
cool.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, and it's like you guys are here a year later exactly. That's
To the
wild.
But
week.
you should see the synchronization of everything because it's like, yeah, we did the podcast with you, and then I got on Breakfast Club,
Right.
Yeah,
right.
he
and
came.
then shot it at your facility.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then y'all sent that. It was like, yeah, I was
Right.
like, I see the big
But-
earn your
I
leisure in the
know, that's what I
background.
was
First
saying.
of all, I was like,
oh,
I was like,
surprised y'all didn't have the
no,
logos
I was
hanging.
like, man, whatever they want to do, because they
Yeah,
got
go
we
ahead,
using their
exactly.
space,
Right.
Yeah.
and
right.
it was like, it was cool though
Right.
because if
Worked.
this what we doing together, then
Mhm.
we didn't even have our agreement in place. We
Yeah, that's before we even had
weren't
a podcast.
before we did the podcast. So
Yeah.
it was just like, just those natural connections and
Yeah.
you see like to build, man. And like I
Mhm.
just know that moving forward, what we gonna build collectively is just gonna be, something to see. That
That's powerful.
financial, mental,
Mhm.
emotional health. I mean, once our people have both of those
Right.
in
Ooh.
sync, that's dangerous, man.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
1000%.
That's a fact.
So again, man, I'm just happy to be here, bro.
I
That's
know,
great.
Me too. Me too.
We went that, and you did that before we were even on Black Effect. Shout out to Charlamagne. So we had the Earn Your Leisure sign while you were
Yeah.
on Breakfast Club. Before we
Oh,
were
yeah.
even on Black Effect and iHeart. So that's crazy.
And
Before you were
Yeah.
even on Earn Your Leisure Network. That's dope.
Yeah,
Right,
well,
right.
I was gonna get on Black Effect, and then I was
Right.
like, well,
I know.
let me talk to these guys.
Right. Right.
Let me talk to because Charlamagne's like, yeah, I'm interested. Then I was just like, well, let me talk to them. See what's going on with them too.
Shout out
know?
to our guy.
So yeah, so we here, man, and we're gonna keep it moving. So let's talk about too the black spending, like and I saw something really interesting that you guys met Tragan yesterday, the videographer. He sent me something, man, about black spending. And one thing about the black spending that really like hit me was that we spent a lot of money on juice. It was like billions
Wow.
on juice.
Mhm.
I'm like, bro, like this can't be right. He's like, no, bro, that's right. I'm like, juice? And it's like, if you start look at our spending, and from what I understand, we have one of the largest amounts of spending,
Yeah.
and we don't own anything,
Mm.
and it's like what you guys are doing and helping people to understand that like we got to own things.
Mhm.
And then too, we have to spend our money on things that actually creates
Make money,
assets
yeah.
over liabilities.
Yeah,
Assets over liabilities, right?
So from what you've seen and what you've been out there doing, just even in your 10 years of doing the financial literacy, have you seen a lot of those people come back to you like, man, we so grateful have met you 10 years ago and we doing well financially based on this information that you gave us?
Yeah, not even 10 years. Like just like last year, or then they got information or 6 months ago. But it happens all the time. Like people stop us all the time. Like, yo, you saved my life, and I opened the Airbnb, or I started trading stocks. I'm in real estate, and X, Y, and Z. I'm no longer working at my job now. I'm an entrepreneur full time. Like
Mm.
literally, like all the time that happens everywhere we go. L.A., Chicago, Detroit, people stop us all the time. Like, just real live testimony
Mm.
Mm.
of like, you actually changed the whole way I think. And,
Wow.
I'm putting my friends on, and I'm,
Right.
telling them, and it's just changed the whole environment. So yeah, that's probably, the most humbling part of the whole situation, and the really most rewarding part is when people actually stop us and give us real testimony. And like I said, that happens literally all the time, online and in person.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it's really, really inspiring, really dope.
Yeah. I think the thing we've seen the most is that people have changed their mindset from becoming consumers to becoming investors.
Mm.
And when you become an investor, that's when you can own a piece of the things that you're actually consuming.
Mhm.
And so for most of our generation, we've been just taught spend, spend, spend,
Yeah.
spend, spend with no remorse.
Right.
Right.
And so now we're starting to see that trajectory change a lot. Like, and I think somebody told us the other day, like when you don't know what to do, you do what you know, right? So if you don't know
Mhm.
anything, then
Yeah,
you'll
exactly.
just spend the money every time you get it. But that's that rat race, right? People running the treadmill, getting nowhere fast,
Mm.
Right.
and so we're changing that. And like you said, every day, somebody tells us a story of how something that they heard, a piece of information that they heard, changed their lives. And I say it all the time, but that's the fuel.
Right.
Imagine
right.
you hearing that every day. You know
Oh,
you can't stop.
listen,
Now
these
it's like we got to go find some more information to find to open the light up. Because, like you
Mhm.
said, in order for us to aspire to be things, we got to see it first.
You gotta see
Right.
it.
We
Yeah.
got to see it.
Right.
Like, and once you see it, now it's like, all right, I could be that. I remember growing up, it was like 4 things you could be, and 2 of them was a rapper and an athlete, and one was a doctor or a lawyer. That's what my parents wanted me to be, a doctor.
Mm.
And I'm like, well,
I think that's all Caribbean parents. Like, like they picked up from the Indian parents.
It's
Like,
like-
yeah, be a doctor, a dentist. Like, that's the only
That's
thing
it.
that's credible. You know.
yeah, but then imagine a kid hearing that and he doesn't want to be that. Now, what value does your life have if you don't want
Right.
to be those things?
Dude, that transition into that's a huge piece. Is that one thing my parents never pushed me into anything like I didn't want to do, and
Mhm.
I'm seeing a lot of kids like they're suffering mentally, emotionally because their parents are trying to live
Yeah.
for them
Right.
and trying to drive them into spaces
They don't wanna
and
do,
that they
right.
don't want to do.
Yeah, because they think their parents think that's success.
That's just
Right.
right.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
like and a lot of them start having anxiety, depression,
Mhm.
because like what's
You're
your
living incongruently to what you really want to be doing. I
your
mean, it's not-
purpose is built in you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Like
That's a
y'all
fact.
was gonna be this.
It is. Yeah.
That's just what it is.
Right.
You developed yourself because that's what's in you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you gravitate towards money. Like I found out I'm not a money driven person.
Mm-hmm.
Like so everything that I tried to do that had this it was all just money.
Right.
Like I didn't really care about the journey. It was all money. Just
Yeah.
get there. I never succeeded with it. Because that's
Yeah.
not
Right.
how I'm wired.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not money driven like that. But the overarching thing too that brings us all together on this is hip hop.
Yeah,
Mm.
1,000.
The
Mhm.
rappers really conditioned us to spend money the way that we were spending it, and now we starting to see that flip.
Yeah.
Because I saw you guys with Ross.
Yeah.
You know?
Mhm.
Shout out to
Mhm.
Ross. Yeah, I mean the whole culture is shifting towards financial literacy. It's a whole movement, and rappers are definitely whether you agree with it or not, they're leaders,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
people follow them, and they have a strong voice. They probably have the most important voice in our community, because they have the biggest stage.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's encouraging to see people like Ross, the Meek Mills of the world. We just interviewed Corday. All of these guys is into financial literacy and they talk about investing and they're learning, but it's dope to hear them, speak about that because now that's only encouraging people to actually get more and more into it. So we need everybody to be on board with it, not just the financial literacy people. We
Yeah.
need the comedians, we need the
Mhm.
actors, we need the rappers, the basketball players, everybody. And now it becomes, a tidal wave. And I think that's
Right.
that's really what's beginning to happen. And now, like you said, there's not just one level of success.
Mm.
It's not like, all right, the only way you can be successful is if you get a master's degree and you work a job or you're a doctor or a lawyer. Now we're seeing that there's millions of different ways to be successful. You can be on YouTube and you got
You
YouTube.
can be
You
a
got
little
8-year-olds,
boy,
right? You got
selling-
8-year-olds making millions of dollars.
That kid
playing
was
video
making like
games.
24
24
million.
million?
Yeah, 24 million.
Oh,
last
the
year.
one that was opening gifts, or
Yeah.
something.
Toys.
And
yeah,
that's the really that's like kind of my whole life story as far as like I always kind of like broke rules my whole entire life as far as like traditional way, and it's like now it's like it's accepted and it's like you got people that really struggle to spell the word entrepreneur. That's millionaires, like you know what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
it don't matter, like you know what I
Right.
mean. So it's like the way that we looked at life for a long period of time is like, okay, if you don't do this, if you don't do this, if you don't do this, then you're going to be labeled as an outcast or you're not going to be successful. And now we're seeing that the internet, that's one of the great things with the internet is that it has shattered a lot of those stigmas. And
Mhm.
really, there's no rules. There's no rules to life. Like there's no one right way to do anything. And now we're starting to see that. And even with us, like, having a business platform, like, a couple years ago, the way we dress, the way we talk,
Mhm.
all of that, we wouldn't have credibility. But now nobody's questioning our credibility because there's no rules. We can do whatever we want to do.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
It's the demonopolization of self.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm.
people really can go out there and do what they're passionate about. If you see a little boy unboxing toys and making $20 million,
Right.
and like so really,
Right.
so what is it that you enjoy that you can do? Somebody likes it.
Yeah.
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 Somebody out there like it. Like we talking
Yeah.
about Star Trek. Like it may
Don't
be some
bring up
nerd
Star
stuff,
Trek,
but
Leave me alone.
it may be some nerd stuff. But there's a lot of people who love it.
Right?
I
who
won't say
love it.
anything bad publicly about Star Trek.
I know.
I don't want
'cause,
the Trekkies
yo,
at my door.
No, you don't
Oh,
want
man.
none of that. You
Shout
don't
out
want
to them.
You don't
Star
want
Trek
none of
smoke.
that nerd, nerd smoke. Oh man. Yeah,
So
no.
like yeah, that's the internet has just opened the door, man, for
Yeah,
like
it
for you to
has.
be who you are.
Like my parents are older, you know, they lived like old school generations. So I was conditioned like, nah, you go to college, you get your degree, and you work a regular job. Period. There's no entrepreneur. You sit down and go to school, and that's what I didn't do. I went against that.
You should see I mean, I wish my mom was on here, like hearing her story. She's, definitely education. She used to push education on me hard, and I just like bucked it. Like, nah,
Mhm.
man, I'm
Yeah.
not doing that. Like, I don't see the purpose of doing that. Like, how from my lens, like I didn't see the purpose in that, and I bucked, and next, my mom was working for me, and she had a master's degree. It's because I stuck with business, and then she came on board and became my business partner, and she struggled. She
Mhm.
struggled with coming out of that mindset. One of the things on the Matrix is that when Morpheus was apologizing to Neo, he said we typically don't take a person out of the Matrix after a specific age because the
Mhm.
mind can't handle it.
Mhm.
So if you take someone who's a baby boomer who is used to that 30, 40 years, retirement, and you put
Oh,
them in
yeah.
entrepreneurship,
Oh, they
Yeah.
they probably
like
die. Ugh.
no,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, my
Go
mom,
crazy.
she had it hard, but the cool thing was that, one, she's a therapist, so she knows about doing her own work. We have Inception. It's just, look, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know,
I watch it every day. Like, imagine that. Like, I'm the only entrepreneur in my family,
mm,
and so they
Mhm.
watch me go to
they,
work in school, and during Corona, when I was like, you know what, I'm done. It's like, what?
How they feel about that?
Oh, they live in anxiety. It's
Yeah.
every day. It's like,
mm,
are
Oh,
you
my
sure?
mama
Are
too.
you sure? Are you
Yeah.
sure? Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure, and they slowly are coming out of it, but I can feel the anxiety, right? Like if I have to,
Mhm.
like even now, like if I have to travel, it's like, why? Like we got business we got to take care
yeah,
of. We have
Yeah.
some things we
I
have to do.
realized you got two people in this world: people that ask why and people that say why not.
Yeah.
And me, I was always on the why not side. So it's dope to see him because he was kind of on the why side for a long period
I was
of time.
borderline, man. Don't do that.
No, I'm just saying as
Nah,
far
fact,
as like,
fact.
you know what I'm saying? Like for me, like,
Yeah,
it's like, yo, take off work. Like, cause it's like, I
yeah.
look
Tell
at it
them
like
that. Tell them that.
yeah, like for a long time, like we would have to sacrifice like weekend trips or whatever, because he never missed a day of work ever.
That's the hard work. I watched it.
And
Yeah.
and he never missed work. And I never understood why he didn't miss work, because I'm like, you're a teacher and you have tenure. It's almost impossible for you to get fired unless you like beat up a kid. And that's real though. They got the strongest union out of everybody. And you get like 30 sick days, right? And he wasn't using his sick days. And I'm not even a teacher, but I understand how it works. So I'm like, all right, you get 30 sick days, and you get like another 15 days that you can use over and above that. You get like 45 days that you can use. And if you don't use it, I guess it carries over, but you could potentially lose it. So I just, in my brain, I'm like, if I'm a teacher, I'm using every single
Right,
day.
absolutely.
Yeah, and he would have like one day, and he never used it for like years, and I just never understood that. I'm like, why are you not like doing this? Like, you know what I'm saying? And for him, he was like I said, his upbringing is different.
yeah.
So coming,
It's
it was
conditioning.
Well, that's what mental health is.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
part of it.
condition.
It's the programming, right?
In my mind, it was like, I'm not here for anybody else but these kids, right? And so if I don't show up, then I'm cheating the people I work for. I don't really work for the school. I always thought like the kids were the boss, right? If I'm performing well, if I'm doing my job, they'll let me know because they'll be receptive.
Right.
And so if I felt like I missed a day, then I just cheated them. Something great could have happened that day. And so that was my mindset until he said like, wait, you got 26 days and you didn't use any and you're
Wow.
not getting anything for this at the end? And I'm like, damn, you got a point.
Shoot, bro, I was punching out at
Oh.
4:59.
Oh, listen,
like,
me too.
Like they like you don't
too.
want that extra minute. Like
Nah.
yo, man, they was like they
Oh.
asked me, you want to work overtime? I was like, I don't want to work the time I got.
Yeah, I couldn't wait. I
That is
couldn't
a
wait to
fact.
leave. Oof.
That is a
I was
fact.
out.
So that mindset right there, that would have drove me crazy. Like
Yeah.
no, I don't. I'm good, man.
Yeah,
But
it's like a carrot. They put it out there, but they don't really want you to take them, right? Because if you get 20 days, you could take off literally 2 days a month. And if you got like a 4-day weekend, it's like, well, now it's a 5-day weekend. So they give it to you in the event of emergency. Like if something happens, it's a medical emergency or something happens with your family, you have those days. But like I was
They look
pretty.
at you sideways though if you take them though.
It's like you're gonna get a letter if you take a
Right.
day after a holiday.
so you really just broke into being an entrepreneur.
Like I left, like no
Like
joke.
Mm.
and that was how long ago?
So we started earning leisure January 2019. So we were doing that, and then Corona, everybody was working from home,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that the way I needed to be an educator I wouldn't be as effective being on the computer. It was like I was putting lesson plans, and it's tough. I was doing phys ed, so it's tough because now
Right.
I can't do a lesson because I don't know the space that the kids have. It was a
Right.
whole legality thing, and I'm like, this is it. This is
Yeah.
it. And then we were picking up steam with Earn Your Leisure. We were just grinding. We started doing Market Mondays. We were doing the Zoom interviews, and everything was picking up. EYL University was picking up. I'm like, this is it. I'm not going back in September.
So how has that transition been for you? And then you, how has it been just watching him? Because that's like my mom, and you're me.
Yeah.
You're observing him go through his struggles of
Yeah.
breaking free from the rat race matrix.
Yeah.
You know,
It's been great. Like I said, Corona kind of slowed everything down, so I wasn't going every day anyway.
Right.
And then in the summer, we were moving around, and I just got to this point. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going back in September. And so I never forget, I sent them a letter like August 10th that I wouldn't be back in September. I took like a leave. My principal was like, just do me a favor, take a leave. I know you're probably not going to come back, but just take the leave. So I sent the leave letter, and the director of human resource told me there's no such thing as a leave, and I could resign or show up.
Mm.
And he emailed me like the day before the school started. And I'm like, I called him like, I'm not doing either. And that was the last conversation we ever had.
Oh wow.
Like I don't.
Wow.
That was it. I'm like,
Wow.
well, I'm not going. So
Mhm.
we're gonna be doing this, and the rest is history now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we travel when we want. We do what we want.
Well, you know what it teaches you too? Like it teaches you work ethic, you know, to be like have to be somewhere on time like every single day.
That
Teaches you work ethic.
that's why I said if my dad didn't show me anything, he showed me that.
Yeah.
Like he's getting up. He's not missing a day.
Right.
Like 6 o'clock in the morning.
But
he's going.
I think that that's a common misconception that work ethic, yeah, but there's a thin line between work ethic and being programmed, because you
Yep.
could just
Right.
show up. Not to
Yeah,
say your
that's
dad
true.
or you, but I know people that just show up every single day. I know that's not really work ethic. You just there,
You're just
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
going through the
yeah.
You
motions.
trading time for
Yeah,
dollars.
no, it's a
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people need to fully understand as well. Just because you're doing something doesn't mean you
You're
have
good at
a
it.
good work
Right.
ethic.
No,
Yeah,
that's
that's true.
That's
That's true.
1,000%. Like I
Yeah.
watch coworkers, and I'm like, why are you here?
Yeah.
Like you're
Right.
doing a disservice to that next generation. That's a valid point.
And that's something that you gotta learn. You gotta learn work ethic. Like, and that's something like even like playing sports, I think is a great. That's how that helped me a lot
Yeah.
as far as like learning that, because it's like you have to practice every single day, right?
Yeah.
And those kind of that discipline carries with you in the rest of your life. And I feel like these are things that you have to learn, and it's better to learn early on. Because some people mistake showing up as work, and it's not.
Yeah.
You're
Right,
just
right.
there, but you're adding a little value.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
And
get it.
Yeah.
I get
You're
it.
Man,
just
we-
wasting time.
That's coming from the chef background though.
Yeah.
I was a chef, so that's why my work ethic. You're not allowed to sit down. Like you'll get pots thrown at your head. So and you work at least 10 hours. 6 days a week. So I mean, you have to have work ethic
Yeah.
to be there, else you
No,
fired.
for sure. But
period.
I just
But
like
I
even
get it. I get
even
that.
being in a corporate, especially in a corporate world, because
Yeah.
I've seen it before where people they're on their computer all day shopping.
Oh, you can
right,
coast.
Right.
You
Yeah.
can coast
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
You can definitely coast at a
Yeah.
job.
It's like the March Madness screen. boss
Yeah.
screen.
But and then it's like you're just really wasting your life, really. Like
Yeah, exactly.
you're not even really working to your full potential, and you kind of have the illusion that you're working hard, but
Mhm.
you're really not.
I worked at this one call center in Florida called the Answer Group. I hated that place, man. It was like the human sweatshop, man. Like So the
The
call
human
center,
switch.
for real,
Oh,
this is
golly.
like 2001. This is right when 9/11 happened. They had security guards, they had, guns, they had metal detectors we went through. You couldn't take a phone in there.
Ooh.
We didn't have smartphones anyway, so we weren't gonna do. We had Nextel. So and then
Next
like
up.
yo,
Right.
when they had you when you were gonna take a call, right? You had to be available to take a call. If you hit the auxiliary button, which is I'm gonna take a break, you would drop down to minimum wage. So they weren't gonna pay you if you weren't productive.
Mm.
So literally, like you literally clock into the building, and for the moment you clock into the building, you were on minimum wage. So you got to run to your phone and plug in and be available to take a call. Like now that's extreme, but at the same time, I understand like yeah, businesses a lot of times people are coasting, man. They like
Mhm.
not really doing the work. Like I said, that was the extreme. But also when you as an entrepreneur, and you guys probably know it too in your journey, people come to you and they tell you what they can do all the time.
Oh my gosh.
And then you see it like, bro, like
Right.
and then you end up doing it yourself.
Yeah, always. Always.
My dad scolded me one time. We had a landscaping company for years that I worked with when I worked with him. And, he took me aside. He said the grass, I don't know, somehow messed up the grass or something. I did something that was half-ass. You know how black people, you half-ass job. Like he's like, man, would you want your yard to look like what you just did? And I was like,
Nah, that's a fact, and that's something that you never fully appreciate until you actually are employing somebody. Because a lot of employees, this is just a fact. They're looking to get over. They
Right.
try and do the least amount of work possible, and they're actively looking to take advantage. And we've all done that. Even me,
Right.
like being at camp, like you know what I'm saying, like you trying to find ways to cut corners.
Mm.
You
get
don't
that.
fully appreciate the disservice that you're doing until you're on the other side paying for somebody to do nothing.
Right.
Then you have a full appreciation of the whole situation completely different. Because it's like if I'm paying you and I'm literally knowing that you're just wasting time and wasting my money, that's a different type of feeling. So that's something that people need to fully understand. Like when you're taking a job and you looking to just cut corners and do the least, it's not really cool because somebody's paying you for that.
yeah.
Right.
And you don't fully appreciate it until you're the one paying somebody to do nothing.
Right.
I had people mad at me from me hiring them, like even a contractor, to do a job.
Oh yeah. Right.
They don't do the job that they sold you on up to the level that they sold you to, but then they mad at you.
Yeah, but then they mad.
It's
when
like-
they mad when you don't pay them.
But
yeah.
but again, ties back.
Entitlement.
Those are all
Mental
mental,
health.
emotional issues, man.
Yeah.
It's like what? Like I'm high. I paid you.
Yeah. This entitlement gene is out here these days, though.
But the world got something for that. You know
Yeah.
what it's called? AI.
Oh.
Yeah.
And the AI coming
You will be replaced.
and it don't care.
And the idea of that's another mental situation as well. Stop trying to get over.
Mm.
And it's like for me personally, I don't want anything if I haven't earned it.
Right.
And I don't cause for a few different reasons, but one thing is that people can hold that over your head as well. And they can use that as a leverage tool. And it's like, I don't want any handout because I understand that nothing is free. And
Right.
if you're giving me something and I haven't fully earned it, it's gonna come back to me one way or another.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think people have to fully understand is that you shouldn't want anything that's free, or
Yeah.
you shouldn't want anything that you haven't fully worked for because you don't. Honestly,
You
you
won't
just
value
don't.
it.
You don't
Yeah.
deserve it.
That was one of those
Mm.
lessons. That was early on, and we had just started. And I remember you had said, "Listen, we're not letting anybody work for free. We're gonna pay everybody for their time." And as we started moving more, I was like, "Ooh, I get it. I get it now for those exact reasons." Like remember I said when I'm learning the business lessons,
Mhm.
that was one of those early, like probably within the first 2 months. He was like, "We're gonna pay everybody for their time. I don't care how much we pay them. If it's $50, $100, we're gonna pay them
Mhm.
because that's how much their time is worth, and we're gonna
Yeah,
make sure that
that's
they feel
something
like."
that. Shout out to Val. She told my friend. She told me that like never let somebody work for free. Never let somebody work for free because ultimately nobody's doing anything for free. Like
Right.
on an ongoing, it might show love out of one day or something like. But if they're doing a job for you consistently, if they're not getting paid, they're gonna develop a certain level of resentment,
Mm.
or they're not going to do the job properly.
Right.
So if you
Right.
can't afford to pay them, then pay them in equity, or find some way to pay
That's
them.
what, man. I've been
Yo.
screwed over so many times in business, and you came to me. You're like, no, you need to get paid for your work, because I would just, man, I've just added a lot of value to a lot of different.
That's
businesses,
why like when you trying to build businesses and you just said equity,
Yeah.
she knows.
Mm.
Like if I don't have the money, we gon' square up
Right.
some
Yeah.
type of way.
Yeah.
You gotta complete the circle.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
And we talk about this all the time. Like we're at a place where we can't let somebody else into our circle who's not going to complete the circle.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Even with what we're doing with you guys, like it's always got to be a completed circle.
Mhm.
You know, just like you said, adding value back.
Right.
And you got to think about it. If something doesn't add value, it's useless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's just taking space. You know?
It's
Space
taking up.
hol-
It's
space
taking
holders.
up space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's useless.
Yeah.
And that's depressing to be someone who's not of any value.
Yeah, and that's something that shout out to Brandon Copeland. He said that he's an NFL player. He was on our podcast a while ago, and he said there's only so many losing relationships that you can be on
Mm-hmm.
before you start to lose yourself. It's like a
Yeah.
seesaw. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, life is about balance. Like,
Mhm.
you have too many losing relationships, meaning like you're doing stuff for somebody and they're not doing anything for you.
Yeah.
Your seesaw is gonna tilt eventually. So it always has to be a balance, and it's like there's only so much charity that you can do.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? If we're doing business, it has to be an even exchange. I'm gonna
Energy
pay you for
exchange,
your
right.
service and you're gonna do a good job. Like
Yeah.
if it's not the even exchange, then we can't do business together. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that people don't fully understand, especially working with people that you might know personally
Mm-hmm.
or family members and stuff like that. And it's like, all right, well, I'm just gonna hire my cousin to do my roof, and he's coming. He might come, he might not come,
Yeah.
and that's not an even exchange.
Yeah.
That goes in business. That goes in relationships,
Mhm.
family.
Mm-hmm.
Because once that seesaw starts tipping, right, that scales
Resentment.
off. It's an abusive relationship at that point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
You're gonna abuse every time because you know that I'm gonna be there for you and I'm gonna come back.
That's a codependent relationship.
right,
That's why you
right.
don't want to do that and create those codependent relationships. But that principle is from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Create a win-win situation. We talked about our emotional bank accounts.
Yeah.
Like, think about it. If someone's constantly taking away from your bank account and they're not making deposits, that person, how many people are bankrupt with you?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But you still going into the hole. Like at some point you got to stop the bleeding, man.
Yeah.
And that's in, like you said, business and personal relationships too.
Yeah.
The funny thing about sports is that during the pandemic, The Last Dance came on, and y'all grew up kind of same era with me.
For sure.
Is that I watched Michael Jordan. I watched my dad. I watched them hustle. Like that's what I see. That's what I do. And a lot of people, they celebrate Mike and Kobe because of their work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a lot of people out here who don't have a good work ethic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like, how did you think he got there?
Yeah.
And people are like, I don't like how he did this, how he did. Look, man, you need that type of energy in this world, specifically as a black man, to be able to really be successful. You got to have that intensity and that focus. And I'm sure probably both of y'all at some point, I used to be made fun of for that intensity and that focus and that drive.
Mhm.
Like, Dave, what you doing? You watching the Super Bowl? I said, nah, they made their money.
Mm.
I used to tell people that. They made their money. I ain't make mine.
Yeah, it's real talk.
And they look at me like, what's wrong? I'm in my 20s saying this. What's wrong with this
Mhm.
guy, man? I'm like, I learned obviously to have fun in my life, but I can't have too much fun if the goal that I'm trying to, the purpose, if not, I'm not meeting the vision. I'm a
Mhm.
visionary. I'm about my vision. I'm about like, hey, does this look better this week than it did last week? Do I feel better internally, mentally, emotionally than I did last week?
Yeah.
I think about it in the same way. Is that 100% just tunnel vision focus?
Yeah, that's important. That internal inventory. That
Yeah.
you
I
know,
mean, everything inside projects outwardly, anyways.
Yeah.
So if you messed up on the inside, I mean, it's gonna show in your physical world
absolutely.
all over.
That's a bar. I like
Mhm.
that. How do I feel today? Do I feel better than I did yesterday? Do I feel
Mhm.
better than I did last week? Because again, that's going to affect all the relationships, everything. It'll affect everything.
Mental health screenings, when they use that word, I'm like, dude, from a system standpoint, go get checked in. I'm like, I woke up.
Right.
That's when I checked in.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we talk about every morning. Like, how'd you
I
sleep?
mean, so we can almost kind of wrap up on this is that I remember this guy named Big Mike, and Big Mike was doing Forex back in 2001.
Mhm.
You had to go get a broker. You had to go do some things. I'm trying to wrap my mind around what he's doing. I hear Forex and I know about foreign exchange, but I'm like, where do I even start with this? Now, fast forward, we can all pull up our phones and start looking at our stuff in real time.
Mm.
It's that level of awareness that gives us the power. With your mental, emotional state of being, if you're not checking in with yourself and observing yourself, why was I thinking that? Why was I feeling that? What's really going on? And I'm not over analyzing, but I am processing. I am listening to my vessel, to my body.
Mm.
And when we gain that level of awareness, the same way that we gain a level of awareness on our apps about our financial states of being, that's where the power is.
Exactly.
It's all about awareness. And that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because we
dope.
both connected
Yeah.
on what? Raising the level of awareness. Asset over liabilities.
Yeah.
Inner wealth.
Inner wealth, right?
There you have it.
The family.
That's it. So until next time, guys.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having
Thanks
us.
for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Love is love, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
That was the easiest one we've ever done.
You've been listening to the Inner Wealth Podcast on EYL with David and Elisabeth. Theme song produced by Be Ready for West Coast Creations. I am Rashad, reminding you to take action, be proactive, be congruent, get out of the matrix, get your mind right. We've automated mental health at inception. Join the movement. Inner Wealth Podcast. Inner Wealth Podcast. Inner Wealth Podcast.